Welcome, everybody. I'm just going to give it another 30 seconds to a minute here to get started. Thanks so much for joining. Go. All right. I think we can go ahead and get started today. Welcome, everybody, to our coffee session here on June 9th, 2026. Like usual, we will be going through a few prepared topics today, and then, of course, answering all of your questions. And like usual, you can put your questions in the Q&A feature in Zoom. The chat is closed to you, but we'll be using that to send out some links here or there. So you can always put your questions in that Zoom Q&A feature, and the lovely folks at the CDE or some internal folks here at ETS will answer those questions in the background, or we'll try to read a few out loud as well. Um, so we will jump into it today. And if you would like to download the slides that we're sharing or the resource guide that has all the links that we are talking about, you can go to our upcoming and on-demand trainings page. You can get there through our website or through our link tree. And you can type in linktr.ee/Cal Outreach. Then you'll select upcoming and on-demand trainings, find the coffee session under the current month of June, and download the resource guide and PowerPoint file there. And Sylvia has also put that link in the chat for you. Let's go over our agenda for today. So, like usual, we're going to talk about some training opportunities, educator involvement opportunities, and some new and updated resources. And then we'll talk a little bit about preparing for the rollover to the 2026-27 admin year in TOMS. And then our typical topics of test security, stairs, and call drivers, and some last reminders before we answer any questions that we haven't gotten to by then. So let's jump into it today. Training opportunities. So now that we're into June, we have got our typical slate of trainings ready for the summer, and that starts off with the scoring and reporting webinar on June 11th. So that webinar is a great place to get a high level overview of sort of all the things that we do related to scoring and reporting. There is some good information in there, especially if you're new, but for everybody involved about scores coming out. So definitely attend that. And on the same day, just a little bit after that webinar, is a new coordinator training where they will cover your role and the assessment system. So especially if you're new, that will be two trainings on that day that you would want to attend. And then if you want to go a little bit deeper into using data, we have a great training series every June called the Data Leadership Training Series. There's 4 sessions on June 16th, 17th, 23rd, and 25th. So 4 different sessions that really help you dive into understanding summative assessment data and using data to drive decision making, using data for communication and engagement, and learning from data learners. So there is a lot of really great information in that series. If you want to go a little bit beyond the surface level using your data. Also, we've got a few other trainings. So there is another new coordinator training webinar that is focused on managing users on June 18th. And then my personal favorite training, the Interim Informative Assessment webinar series, which happens in July, is a really great place to learn all about the interim assessments. and formative assessment practices and tools for teachers as well. There's also a new webinar that we started last year that is a educator panel and shared practices uh, that covers the interim assessments and formative assessment practices as well. And they're all super valuable, especially if you're trying to incorporate the interim assessments a little bit more. That interim and formative assessment webinar series is open to educators. So we do send the invite out to um, folks with TA, TE roles and all that are in TOMS, but you are encouraged to send that training along to any teachers or site coordinators even that might want to use the interim assessments this coming year and want to learn a little bit more about those. So definitely forward that on to folks who might be interested. All right. And then we like to plug this nice and early, but the 2026 California Assessment Conference will be taking place on October 27th through the 29th in Riverside, California. It is a wonderful conference, so you can register for that at cdecac.org. And we hope to see you there. All right. So a few opportunities to get involved in the assessment development process and assessment review process. Like always, you can find this information on our Get Involved webpage, which you can find in the main navigation bar of our website, but you can also get there with this QR code if you'd like. And new 2026-27 opportunities are posted on that page for the California Science Test, the alternate assessments, the California Spanish Assessment or CSA, as well as the summative LPAC and summative alternate LPAC. So all kinds of things to get involved in. And especially this time, we'd like to highlight smarter balanced educator recruitment. Um, because Smarter Balanced is inviting educators to apply for this opportunity to be involved in all kinds of activities, including item writing, item review, English language arts and literacy passage review, as well as range finding and data review. So a lot of different ways to become involved. We put the link in the chat for you, but all of that information is on that one Get Involved page, and then there's a lot of stuff to look through. So definitely feel free to pass this information along to folks you think might be interested as well. It's folks always tend to learn a lot as part of this process. I usually, if I hear anybody that does it, they always were glad to go through that process and become a little bit more knowledgeable and involved. So definitely check that out. All right. A few new and updated resources. So recordings are available for a few recent trainings, including last month's coffee session and some modules of the SIRS training that we had recently that was called Accessing Summative Assessment Results in SIRS. So there were two modules that took place online, and recordings are available for those. And then we also have some new sample student score reports or SSRs in English and Spanish on our sample student score reports webpage. So if you go to our SSR reporting resources page, you'll find all of the samples there if you want to know what those look like. So we've got a few of those posted. And then also our web-based scoring and reporting guide has been updated for 25-26 as well. So if you are diving into your results right now that are still coming out, there's a lot of info in that scoring and reporting guide that might be helpful. All right. The big topic for the main special topic for today is the 2026-27 rollover and preparing for that. So we did send out an email somewhat recently that had a lot of this information, but it's really important and it's a big transition time over the summer. So we wanted to make sure to talk about it here a little bit. The main thing that you will have to coordinate over the summer is your users in Toms. So first of all, uh, you will actually, first of all, you need to make sure that your superintendent has designated a primary LEA coordinator for both CAASPP and ELPAC for the 2026-27 year. We've been communicating about that, but I know that's always, there are some superintendents that need a little bit of a push on that. But as soon as there is one primary LEA coordinator for each program in TOMS, then those primary coordinators can do the rest and manage all of the users, including designating prioritizing anybody who's going to be administering the initial LPAC or the initial alternate LPAC or the interim assessments after the rollover. And so that rollover is the end of this month. I should have the exact dates in front of me, but I don't think I do. Um,
So the rollover begins, system downtime begins at the end of this month at 5 p.m. And it will come back online on July 7th at 8 a.m.
yes. Thank you, Dina.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that is on our website. We've sent out email reminders about it as well. But when and you can, add these users to a future admin year as soon as you have access to that 26-27 year, you can add those users. And you can also now, as a primary coordinator, you can designate other LEA coordinators as well as site coordinators. So you will want to make sure that you're on top of that. You can actually download your users from this year, from the 25-26 admin year. You can download that report from Tom's, and then you can take a look and edit it however you want. And then upload that document to give access to those folks for 26-27. So a lot of that is outlined in our email as well, but you'll want to make sure to manage all those users and then ensure that they log on to Tom's and actually sign their security forms when they have that access as well.
Tyler, can I just
Yes,
add one clarification? For
yes,
the designation of LEA coordinators, that has already taken place for LPAC on April
true.
1st. So if your district did not assign an LEA coordinator for 26-27, then your superintendent would have been assigned that role. So it's important that you understand that and work with your superintendent to assign someone still as you move forward.
Yes, thank you, Tracy. Good clarification there. Yeah, and the deadline for CASP is a little later. I think it's technically July 1st, but that'll be when the downtime is. So really, doing that before June 30th is when your superintendent will need to download a CASP coordinator. A lot of them have already been designated, but just make sure that that access is all set up so you're not scrambling on July 7th when all the systems come back online. All right. And then, so this is also outlined in that email that I mentioned. But again, a helpful reminder that when Tom's rolls over to the new year, some of the data in Tom's will no longer be available to you after that rollover date. So uh, the main one is the data file user reports. So Tom's maintains 3 years of certain data in the system. So you'll want to make sure that before the rollover happens, you should download the 2023-24 reports, those data files, and save them somewhere locally that's secure that you will want to have that because after the rollover, you will lose access to that 23-24 report. And then some reports, you only have the current year. And once it rolls over, you won't have access uh, to this year's 25-26 Tom's report. So that includes the LEA level SSR availability report, the completion status report, and the completion status summary report out of Tom's are important ones to get before that rollover happens, as well as the test settings report and your security forms and remote administration status report. So, yeah, those are good ones to pull sometime this month, save away just so that you have them for your records before you lose access to those. All right. And then a few notes about initial LPAC and initial alternate LPAC. So, of course, testing for the 2026-27 initial and initial alt begin on July 7th when those systems come back up, July 7th, 2026. So you want to just make sure that you're prepared for that. Place supplemental orders for initial LPAC, kindergarten through grade 2, writing answer books if you need them. Check your LEA's assignment for RSVP or rotating score validation process. You'll want to make sure to double check all that you are prepared for everything that you need to do for that upcoming initial LPAC and initial alt LPAC administration. All right. It's test security time, which means I get to hand it over to Mr. Moses Forhe, and he will take you through it.
Thank you, Tyler, and good afternoon, everybody. This is a perfect time always to stop. Let's take a minute. You've gotten some amazing information already from Tyler and the rest of our colleagues here. Take a second, process some of it. I want to also encourage, have you seen the Q&A? Even if you haven't asked any questions, take a minute. Go to that section that says answer. There are some wonderful questions that your colleagues have asked. As you're doing that, as you're processing some of what has been presented and some questions you might start processing, I have a special message. And right now, my colleagues, my team members here are going to help me with 2 links specifically for Greg. Where are you, Greg? Greg Padone? Okay. Welcome to the fold, Greg. You're a new coordinator. Wonderful thing that you're taking on as far as leadership at your district. Greg, the first link that my colleagues are going to put in the chat is the link to your saving grace for the entirety of next year, which is going to be your success agent. If you have not met your success agent yet, Greg, take a look at the chat. There's going to be a link right there that's going to be called Success Agent Lookup Tool, I think it is, Greg, that you're going to see the link. Click on it. Type the name of your district. And you see, Greg, you see all these flying affirmations right now? That's because everyone that's been doing this job for any amount of time knows, as I did while I was at the LEA, our saving grace as LEA coordinators are people like Sylvia and the rest of your success agents, without whom we would not be able to do this work. And Greg, all year long, especially as a first-year coordinator, that is who is going to be your best friend. So look at the link. Type in the name of your district. It's going to come up with a region and an email address and a phone number. And Greg, as soon as this meeting is over, call your success agent and tell them you heard about them during the coffee session. Introduce yourself. Get to know them. You asked a minute ago, Greg, who can I talk to in more detail about some of these things? That's the person that's there for you. And now, Greg, hang on a second. I got something just as good. What does your calendar look like for this Thursday at 3 p.m.? I know that Tracy gave you some suggestions. Here goes a very specific one. My colleagues are going to put in the chat a link. Our partners at SCOE are holding new coordinator trainings. And the next one, Greg, is this Thursday at 3 p.m. If you are not signed up for it, I cannot, and I think Tyler, can we put the link for the sign up to? Yeah. Okay, good. Greg, you're going to put a link. There's an amazing, and it's a whole series, Greg. We just had one a few weeks ago. To Thursday's the second one, and there are going to be ongoing specific trainings for people like you, Greg, who are new coordinators. Please take advantage of those. I don't know if you guys are seeing the chat and how much it's blowing, the Q&A, and how much affirmation there is, Greg, about the success agents and what they mean to you, especially to you as a new coordinator, as far as being your saving grace of a resource for any question that you might have all year long. We are here, and your success agents are there for you in an intimate way to help you out with anything that you have on your mind that you might have questions about. So with that said, I have one more important thing to say. This is the last coffee session we're having this administration. So to all of you 231 coordinators that are here, on behalf of the CDE and ETS, I tell you from the bottom of our hearts, we thank you tremendously. We could never thank you enough for all the work that you have done this year on behalf of our students. So to all of you who are here that have joined us for this last one, that have been here with us all year long, our sincere gratitude to you for being there every day, guiding your schools, guiding your teachers through this amazing work on behalf of our students. So to all of you, thank you. And lastly, to Tyler, Dina, Sylvia, and our partners from the CDE, to all of you, thank you for being here to support them as they do the job on behalf of our students. It's been a wonderful year. As you're going to see now, it's our last coffee session, but test security doesn't end today. And it didn't end last week when we finished the window for summative ELPAC. So as you'll see, and we move along, let's just make sure we have a few key elements. It's still very at the forefront of our minds with regards to test security. And now to the point of test security, I also have to start with this. Thank you guys, you LEA coordinators, for such an amazing job this year with regards to test security. Being the director that gets to see it and oversee it statewide, and I know that Devin and some of our other friends from the CDE who have helped manage and monitor test security, you've done an amazing job this year. And we thank you for taking it so serious and having it at the forefront of your minds to attend to the issues of test security again, so that our students can have the greatest of experiences and opportunities to show how hard they've worked and how much they've learned this year. But again, as it says here, test security is not over. Please do not forget that even though the summative ELPAC window closed, you're still engaged in initial ELPAC. And obviously CAASPP. And that being said, here goes again, and I thank you for this next sub-bullet. The attention that we have given to and somebody wonderful, Greg and some of you others. If you have not seen in the Q&A, there have been some wonderful questions about unauthorized devices, and especially the one that this year has been a biggie and new, Meta glasses. Okay, take a look at the Q&A. Our partners from the CDE have helped us answer some questions about it. But again, thank you for the emphasis that you have given to that and any other unauthorized devices not being part of our testing. Again, another important one. As you're giving initial ELPAC, the DFAs, we've been preaching it from day one for all of these assessments, the DFAs. They are not optional. They must be what you use to guide your administration of these assessments. And then right now, I know a lot of you are engaged with the ELPAC booklets. So again, the secure handling, not only of the booklets, but of all of those others secure materials, and not only the storage of them. I want to throw out a little one that you might not have thought about. It could so easily just go over our heads. What are you doing with those student login cards? Okay, think about this. If it hasn't dawned on you yet, please take a second. You know the student logon credentials? that you hand out to the students so that they can take their tests? How are you handling those now that testing is coming to an end? Please be very cognizant of the fact that even something as small and insignificant as a student logon card is a piece of incredibly important secure material that we have to attend to how we are handling them and how we are making sure that they are maintained secure and destroyed at the appropriate time. Okay, initial ELPAC and even some of the CAASPP. Boy, the entering of scores. I hope that by now you have understood you do not wait around to enter scores whenever you get to know as soon and timely as you can. And then, as we are now, Tyler said, gearing up for next year, please keep in mind that there are some certifications for LEA coordinators that you're going to need to start attending to, and also the test examiners that as soon as what, Tracy, July 7th, or you're going to start possibly giving initial ELPAC?
Yes.
Yay, you heard it. Some of you might, but July 7th.
So just a reminder that on July 1st in CalPADS, districts can start to enter and enroll their new students. So, it usually takes a couple days to go from CalPADS into TOMS. So as long as you're on it for, July 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, I believe, because we have those days, you can get those students enrolled. And remember, it's for most districts, it'll probably be a pre-enrollment. So make sure that you are working with your CalPADS coordinators to enter that information. And then they should be available for you to begin testing or scheduling students. Possibly not, I would not schedule them for the 7th, but for sure on the 8th.
And here, I beg, Greg, are you listening to all this amazing information as a first-year coordinator? This is a prime example, Greg. If your head is spinning, especially with what we're just saying about July, please reach out to your success agent, Greg. They will sit patiently with you and walk you through it. But yes, this is how soon here now initial ELPAC is going to be on the front of your minds. But again, please look at that last bullet there. I cannot overemphasize. LEA coordinators and our test examiners, you cannot start giving the test if you have not attended to the trainings that have to be completed before you start giving the test. Thank you, Tyler. Moving right along. A couple of others. Please make sure that as you are receiving those materials for the initial ELPAC, and this is an interesting point. I'm going to make a highlight report later on. One of the things that came up a lot in the audit surveys was this issue of how we're storing our secure materials throughout the year. Those ELPAC materials that you're getting, LEA folk, not only you, but then your sites. We must make sure that we are attending and that we have policies in place at the district level and at our sites about the secure storing of those materials all year long. If I'm not mistaken, team, didn't they already get their shipments, or aren't there shipments on their way or something? This is the time to start making sure that you have strict policies and practices in place in your LEA and at your sites for the secure storage of the material. And then how are you distributing it? Okay. Review and refine again here your test security protocols. And here's the biggest one again. If your cell phone policy is don't take it out and that's it, and that's all you have in place, boy, I really want to encourage you. As an LEA, it starts with us. We need to have serious thought put into how are we managing our unauthorized electronic device policy at our LEA level and then all the way down to our sites. Thank you, Tyler. Moving on. That's it. I'm done, folks. Thank you guys so much. A wonderful year. I thought I had 5 more slides, but no. Uh, Thank you so much again to each and every one of you. And Greg, I hope you already connected with your success agent and that we get to know you starting today and for the rest of the year to be able to support you. Thank you guys.
Let him get off the webinar first, Moses,
Yeah,
before he has to call his
webinar
success.
too. Success
Pay
agent.
attention first, and then you can call if you want. Yeah. Thank you, Moses. Appreciate it. Vincent, we'll hand it over to you for stairs tips.
Thank you, Tyler. Hello, everyone. Vincent Jaramillo here. Thankfully, there's not many stairs tips to go over as we have just completed Summit of ELPAC, as my colleagues have stated many times over. Once again, I want to congratulate you guys on successfully completing Summit of ELPAC. And with that, I'd also like to say that once again, this year, you guys have done an incredible job of entering, your stairs cases and making sure that everything is in its timely manner. We were once again able to get almost every single Summit of ELPAC swap completed prior to the end of the administration. Uh, that's a success in itself, as so many of those were sent in. But completing those in those timely manners and getting everything done that you guys needed was a success. Okay, so on to the actual topics. For CAASPP, it's still ongoing. For those of you with a window still open, either ongoing all the way through to June 30th or a date, prior to that, you still are able to submit CAS stairs cases. And for LPAC, initial LPAC and initial alternate LPAC are also still ongoing for those times. But please keep in mind, any students who have completed summative LPAC are no longer eligible for initial LPAC or initial alternate LPAC stairs. Those things lock those in place, so you will not be able to access those tests for additional stairs cases. And as a final note, any stairs cases that need to be entered for a window that has been closed via CAASPP or LPAC, if that stairs case is attached to an appeal, you can no longer enter those cases. Just want to say that one more time. If the stairs case is attached to an appeal, you can no longer enter cases for a window that has been closed. So there are a few administrative cases that can still be entered for a closed window, but they will have no effect on a test. These are no appeal stairs cases. So keep that in mind in case you need to submit any administrative errors or technical issues that need to be reported but not appealed onto a test. Thanks, Tyler.
Thank you, Vincent. All right. Now we're gonna talk about some things driving calls, some things that folks are calling in to our success agents about, and we'll hand it off to Sylvia to go through those.
Thank you, Tyler. Hi, everyone, and happy last coffee session of the school year. Don't forget to join us next month as we kick off the new year or the new school year. I'm ahead of myself. So these are your call drivers for June. First bullet point, we're going to start off with the missing SSRs. We're fully aware that after that first release in mid-May, that you all are anticipating your SSRs to be fully released by now. I would say a big portion of your SSRs are released. However, just keep in mind that you want to make sure that you constantly, as a good practice, download the TOMS SSR availability report. This is available both at the district level and the site level for both CAASPP and LPAC. My best practice that I like to teach our coordinators is download it at the start of your week and download it at the end of your week. That way you can compare, see who was there, see who wasn't there, and see who's coming. And then moving along to the scores, I'm going to touch on that other little point too in the missing SSRs. For scores, you are going to notice that some of your students were presented for the CAASPP ELA performance task, also known as the PT, some filled test items. And so any students that were displayed those filled test items will not receive a score, and that does not affect the student's scores. So again, filled test items, they will complete those. They won't receive a score on them. However, that does not affect their score. So they're just going to move along and help us to help them in the future. I wanted to go back to the missing SSRs. Something really big for districts that utilize a student information system to transfer those SSRs from TOMS into your suspender portal. Make sure that your credentialing is up to date within the TOMS system. That's going to be the credentialing tab when you're logged into TOMS. You can click on that and you're going to see there, it'll tell you exactly the number of days before it expires and if it's ready for regeneration. If it is due to expire, you will be receiving a friendly email reminder that it's going to be expiring. And as those days trickle down, you'll continue to get reminders. So I would say the important takeaway for that is to make sure that you are working with your ELPAC or CAS coordinator if you do not serve as both programs for the coordinator. Make sure that you guys don't overwrite each other. So bottom line is just work with each other. Only one person really needs to update it, share it with each other, and then you're going to securely pass it over to your suspender portal.
And Sylvia, if I can just jump in on the that last bullet. I do
Sure.
want to mention that while the field test items will not receive a score and do not affect student scores, um, if students are presented with field test items, they are also given extra computer adaptive test items, and that way enough data is produced for claim results. So I just wanted to mention that information as well.
Thank you for that fun fact, Dina. Okay, and we're going to continue with some more of the student information system vendor credentialing. That's a mouthful, isn't it? And so as I mentioned before, credentials should be active in TOMS and securely provided to the SIS vendor. And so what those are is it's going to be your username and your secret key. So username and password. Again, LEA, CASP, and ELPAC coordinators, if you only serve in one program, make sure that you do collaborate and talk to each other to avoid overriding those credentials. And then any additional guidance or information for managing your credentials. And all that really means is if you want follow along steps or just a visual aid, you can view those within the Suspender credentialing chapter of the TOMS user guide. And that's what I've got for you guys. Congratulations on another school year, another testing season, and thank you for reaching out. Don't stop.
Thanks so much, Sylvia. All right. A few last reminders here. So first of all, we like to remind folks that you don't have to wait to start using, looking at and using and thinking about your local assessment data from this year. A lot of folks, kind of wait until the fall to really dive into that. But there's a lot of information available. Of course, there are still potentially scores rolling out. But a lot of that info is available now, and we actually ran some focus groups with folks of all different roles this past month. And a lot of teachers and test examiners, test administrators were really grateful to have access to their student scores so quickly before the end of the school year. So, in order to just start, um, talking to their students about it, but also for you all, of course, that's going to be planning stages, right? And information to help you start. And that'll be talked about also at, the upcoming scoring and reporting webinar, as well as those data leadership sessions that I mentioned. But it's just a reminder that there's a lot of info available to you and that you can start planning now. And then a few last reminders. Make sure, of course, that you are sending in all your summative ELPAC K through 2 answer books. So to be clear, answer books need to be received by ETS no later than June 19th to be scored. So your deadline really is this Friday, June 12th, to send them out, to get them picked up by FedEx, so that they get to us by June 19th. If there are any outstanding answer books, please make sure you get those sent out this week. Also, of course, enter any CAASPP paper pencil test scores into the data entry interface or DEI before your testing window ends, if it hasn't ended yet. Just of course, little things that you're finishing up, administer the CSA throughout the whole window if you need to. And if you need, we mentioned this before, but if you need initial ELPAC K through 2 materials for this upcoming year, the supplemental order window is still open. And you just make sure that you're planning for that. Although you can use materials from 25, 26 initial LPAC for 26, 27. But yeah, just make sure that you're on top of that planning. All right. Now we will get to a few questions that we have left over here. I wanted to go back to talk about the rollover and user management for a second, because I saw a few questions sprinkled in. So first of all, we had one question about if our district has changed who they want as LEA coordinator next year. People have changed positions or whatever. Can we simply submit a new designation form? And yes, basically, it's up to your superintendent to know who's planned to be the coordinator for next year and just make that person the primary coordinator for the program that they should be, and to not add anybody to 26, 27 who is retiring or anything like that. Shout out to Sin. I saw that you had that message. Thank you for your many years of work, by the way. So yeah, that process is basically just making sure that the roles for 26, 27 match what they should be, right? And doing careful that careful work in collaboration with your superintendent. And there were also some questions about being able to manage those users now. Some people were saying that they thought that they needed to wait until after the downtime, until that July 7th date when the systems come back up to upload users, but you can actually do that now. So if you have been designated for a role, for a coordinator role in 26, 27, when you log on to Tom's, you'll see options of which role you want to log in as, and you'll see the admin year. You can either log in under 25, 26, or you can log in under 26, 27. So if you can log in, you'll see Tom's and it'll be a limited page, right? You won't have all the information, all the tabs, all the buttons available for 26, 27, but users should be one of them. And you can go in there and upload or manually add your users for 26, 27. And then after the rollover, you'll only have the 26, 27 option and the full functionality will be there. So I hope that makes sense. But yeah, it is a good idea to get started and do that now, especially if you're going to have to hit the ground running on July 7th, and as some people might start testing right away or something like that. So yeah, you can do that before the downtime. You can get all your users set up how you want them. One other thing I saw someone mention, a question about SIRS and teachers losing access to their student scores in SIRS. So two things about this. One, SIRS groups don't actually get cleared out of the system until I think it's the end of August. So I'm going to double check that date right now. So it is, or end of July, sorry, not end of August, end of July, July 31st. Friday, July 31st. That's when not only SIRS groups get cleared out, but THSS responses, like interim assessment responses that are just sitting in the THSS, also get cleared out at that same time. But if a user, users will still have access to those SIRS groups in July, like after this rollover happens during the month of July, but they also need to have Tom's account in order to get into SIRS. So they need to have access to SIRS. They do need to be put back into Tom's. So that is something you might need to consider, especially if folks are administering interim assessments or working with students in the month of July. So keep that in mind. And if it gets complicated, feel free to reach out to your success agent. They can kind of walk you through um, all of that. So let's see, I saw some questions roll in. Um, um, so yeah, if you don't have the ability to select next year, I believe that means that your superintendent hasn't designated you as a coordinator yet. Um, I believe. I'll try to make sure someone can confirm that, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. But maybe talk to maybe go to your success agent to see if there's anything else going on there.
You're correct, Tyler. They
Okay,
won't have the option of the 26-27 administration year if they don't haven't been designated for the 26-27 admin year. You're correct.
thank you, Michael.
Of course.
Makes me feel more confident.
Yep.
I didn't want to be spewing things that are wrong here. Thank you.
Of course.
And then let's see, someone asked, oh, where did that question go? Oh, is there any way to find out among our users who are using SIRS? So yeah, that one you'll have to. Um, so anyone with Tom's access, right, has access to SIRS, but if there are certain roles, then you still need to for them to have access to students, they need to be assigned to a group. Unless you have your automatic connection between your student information system, your SIS, and SIRS set up, then that rostering like automatically happens with SIRS. But yeah, basically your Tom's list and your SIRS groups list, should give you all the information that you need for that.
And Tyler, can I kind of go back real quick to a
Please.
topic? I have a special request from some of our success agents on the side here.
Sure.
Um, so Coordinators, I just want to say first and foremost, thank you for hanging in there with us because I know we're doing some last minute outreach before this Friday approaches, June 12th. And I'm speaking to my LPAC coordinators specifically. We are hammering down on you guys on getting your K to 2 writing answer books in. And so by popular demand, we get about 50% inquiries asking, what's the status of my booklet? And then we've also been doing some outreach today and throughout the last few days telling you, please send in your booklets, send them in, and we're asking you for information. I guess the pro tip would be whether you're being the inquirer or if it's us reaching out to you, when you do create that return label and you're getting ready to ship back your test materials for scoring, scanning, scoring, just make sure that you notate the tracking number. There is something that is called, let me get you the proper verbiage. I've lost it, but please forgive me. On your tracking label, there's going to be the tracking number. So make sure that you take note of it because once you print it out and you send her off, there's really nothing that you can go back and reference. We can always dig deep and try to find it for you, but do take note of that tracking number. That way, if we need to reach out to you or you need to reach out to us, it makes it a little bit easier to get that information firsthand. And that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Sylvia.
Tyler, I just want to
Yeah.
say we're missing about 40,000 K2 answer books that are being processed. So that's really important. So thank you, Sylvia, for a reminder to get those materials into your district's office from your school sites and then have them send them on. Pickup is Friday, so please get those in because anything that's not turned in, students will receive a lowest attainable scale score for that domain. So.
Thank you. And I saw
To
some.
all the coordinators, if by chance this week, I know many of you have been getting emails and calls from our success agents reminding you exactly about what Tracy just said. Please let us know. Work with your success agents. They have been feverishly emailing and calling just for what Tracy said to make sure that all of our kiddos that needed to have the opportunity to express their writing for the ELPAC, get their books turned in. So yeah, please reach out to your success agent, and those calls and emails that you're getting, please let us know that you are attending to that, and if there's anything we can do to help with that.
Yeah, and I saw a couple suggestions from folks about making a copy of the shipping label or printing a second copy so they have those available. Yes, good tips. I had one question marked. Someone asked about if we're switching to Aries Cloud SIS, will we need new credentials? I'm not actually sure of this answer, but I wanted to highlight it because it brings up I think an important note that you'll want to be really on top of your communication to your SIS vendor about, a lot of the stuff going on here with the rollover. For something like that, I don't really know the details of Aries Cloud, and whether that's like a whole new system that requires re-credentialing. You'll have to reach out to Aries about that. But just a good note for folks is that your all of your communication with all your teams, your CalPads folks especially, and your SIS vendor is going to be kind of critical in July, and probably now preparing for that. And I was going to also use that as a reminder to bring up the SACE and TomSync, and then someone asked a question about that as well. So first of all, we had some questions about this last year and confusion about this last year. If you are one of the LEAs that has an automatic connection set up between SACE, your special education system, it syncs test settings to TOMS automatically. When the rollover happens and those test settings get cleared out of TOMS, you are going to need to do so after the rollover, you're going to need to do one export from SACE, a manual export and upload of all of those test settings. Because as far as we understand here, the SACE sends changes to TOMS. It doesn't send everything over to TOMS after that rollover. So that's something to keep in mind. But really, with a lot of that type of stuff, integrations between other vendors' platforms and TOMS. Sometimes if it's about the TOMS side of things, sometimes our success agents can help. But if it's about SACE or about Aries or about any of your other SIS systems, you need to reach out to those folks. So SACE's office will be the best folks to contact about some of that stuff. And yeah, Heidi, I think you mentioned you're having some issues and errors. So try to reach out to SACE, but if you're not getting the answer that you need from them, let us know and we can do our best to facilitate that. That's a lot of our info. Did you have anything else, Moses, that you wanted to cover?
Not info, but one last statement I wanted to make when we're ready to close. And by the way, guys, again, there are some wonderful suggestions right now in the Q&A for what Tyler was just talking about and what Sylvia was just talking about with regard and what Tracy just talked to you about your FedEx shipment. Take a look. Some of your colleagues have put some really good best practices that they undertake with regards to your shipment through FedEx. So again, take a look at there. And Diane Weiss, I couldn't agree more. And it leads me to my last closing statement. It takes a village indeed, Diane. It really does, in every sense. And I say that and I use that to circle back again to Greg. Absolutely. Now that we're done with the webinar, make sure you reach out to your success agent and connect with them. And one last thing, in case there are more of you out there that are blessed to be in this situation, like Sin Rogers and John Massey, one of our RAND directors, that have reached a point where they have fulfilled their calling and they're retiring this year. Our hearts go out to you in gratitude. We congratulate you too and any others that are here with us and that have served our children and now have come to that point. Sin, John, and any others that are with us that are at that point. On behalf of our students, we say thank you.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much, Moses. And yeah, if you have any more questions that did not get answered today, like Moses said, talk to your success agent. They will help you out. We got a few last little questions here just to make sure. Yes, Tom's will be down from June 30th to July 7th. That is the big one, the big rollover. Um, if you have, I saw someone ask about suggestions. If you ever have comments or suggestions, we have a contact form or suggestion form on the bottom of our contact page that you can send things to, but you can just you can email me if you want. Um, uh, for any kind of like end of year stuff. We had a survey recently. We had some focus groups recently where we this is a good thing to end on too. Sorry, Moses, to steal your ending thunder. Um, we heard from a lot of folks and are still kind of combing through survey responses and stuff too. Oh, thank you, Sylvia, for putting that feedback link in the chat there if anyone wants to fill that out. But we also do sort of this formal review after testing season where we have focus groups and run a survey. And I just wanted to say that you know, it's great, just so great to hear from like a variety of roles during that process because we know how much effort goes into all of this by everyone across the board, you all, and your teachers and the students. And so I just want to say thank you. It's just a reminder of how much work goes into everything. And while there's a lot of hard stuff, there's also a lot of successes and a lot of things going well around the state, across California. So thank you all so much, and for all the love to everybody here that puts in a lot of work as well, and the CDE puts in a lot of work as well. So yeah, I really appreciate all of you. Sorry if we missed any of these last few questions, but we'll let you all go. We hope that you get some time away this summer to relax, and we will see you in July on let's see, it's the second Tuesday. So that would be July 14th for our coffee session there. Um, we actually will send out an email with the registration, but what we did this year actually is just we're carrying over all of you who are registered uh, for for the coffee sessions already should already be on the list for next year. But we'll send out an email as well to for any new folks who want to sign up for register to attend these coffee sessions for next year. But yeah, we'll see you then. We hope you have a great summer. Anything else, Moses, you want to take back?
See,
Uh,
see you Thursday.
oh
New
yeah,
coordinator. See you Thursday
see
at
you
2
Thursday.
o'clock.
Scoring and reporting webinar and the new coordinator training on Thursday, the 11th. Yes. All right. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate you.
Happy summer.